WWL-TV, Channel 4, New Orleans. John Snell, Hoda Kotb, Jim Henderson, and meteorologist Dave Barnes. This is Louisiana's news leader, Channel 4's Eyewitness News Nightwatch.
This is Dave McNamara in Waco, Texas. There are new reports here tonight that the death toll may be much higher than originally expected. We'll have a live report coming up.
Also, a Louisiana death row inmate loses an appeal for clemency and moves closer to a lethal injection. And state lawmakers face some major money decisions as the special session approaches. Good evening. John has the night off. Religious cult leader David Koresh promised today to give himself up, but he and his followers are still holed up inside the compound in Waco. Now, in the meantime, there are new reports on the number of fatalities inside the compound. Dave McNamara is in Waco with an update.
There are new reports surfacing here in Waco, Texas tonight that the number of members of the religious sect killed may be much higher than originally expected. Yesterday, federal authorities were saying that there were 2 people dead inside the compound of the Branch Davidians. Tonight, the Associated Press says there are at least 10 bodies inside the compound, and a Houston newspaper today is reporting the death toll inside the compound is 7 to 15 people. Sketchy reports all day long. The federal authorities are yet to confirm any of these new numbers. However, it's now believed that more people were killed than originally thought. Now, the information is believed to have come from some of the children who were released earlier today. At last count, 16 to 18 children have been freed. 2 adults also came out earlier today. We are told that apparently there have been no additional releases of children tonight, although there is a great deal of activity that we've seen outside the gates of the compound here. We'll have more reports coming up in a few minutes. There has been speculation that things could be happening here, although once again there has been no official confirmation from anyone.
All right, first there was hope, then disappointment in Waco, Texas. Now there's waiting for a man who says he's Jesus Christ to turn himself in. But will he come out alive? Federal agents keep moving in. Tonight, hundreds of them are swarming the religious compound. They hoped this standoff that started so violently would somehow end peacefully. David Koresh, the cult leader, promised it would on the radio today.
I, David Koresh, agree upon the broadcasting of this tape to come out peacefully with all the people immediately.
Only immediately hasn't come yet, and it's been 8 hours since that message was broadcast. As for peaceful, that doesn't look likely either. Federal sources say 10 cult members are dead inside the compound. This whole thing just keeps getting worse, but people who live in Waco are holding out hope that this whole thing will be over soon.
Well, I'd like to see them settle it peaceably as far as they can possible. I don't think that we ought to go in there and just demolish it.
I've lived in this community for many, many years, and we have never had anything of that type, because I was in World War II, and I hate war, and that's what it is out there right now. It's just a complete war.
If there is anyone who can get through to the cult leader, this lady says she's the one. She's his grandmother.
I think he's just a little boy that hadn't really grown up, and he's had maybe a sad life. I don't know, but to me, he seems like he's just somebody that needs to be loved.
To her, he may be a little boy, but to officers, he's a grown man responsible for the deaths of 4 federal agents. A grown man they want to see behind bars. Now, Koresh's grandmother is also pleading for her grandson to give up. Funerals for the local ATF agents killed in Sunday's gun battle in Texas begin tomorrow. Agent Conway LeBleu will be buried tomorrow in Lake Charles. The funeral for 26-year-old Robert Williams will be held on Thursday in Pearl, Mississippi, and Agent Tom McKeon will be laid to rest on Friday. McKeon lived in Mandeville, but he will be buried in his hometown in Tennessee. His body was returned home today. And now to get the latest news from Waco, let's go back to Dave McNamara, who's standing by with a live report. Dave?
Well, Hoda, we are still being kept about 2 miles away from the entrance to this compound where the religious sect has been held up since Sunday when they had a shootout with federal agents. Now, there has been a lot of activity near this entrance this evening. There's been some speculation that possibly things could be changing, that possibly people are coming out. However, there has been no confirmation at all of that. This comes at the end of a day when hopes were high that there would be a break, possibly an end to the standoff. A Dallas radio station agreed to play an hour-long tape-recorded message from the leader of the group, David Koresh. During that broadcast, he basically gave his interpretation of the book of Revelations. And he also promised that in exchange for the airing of that tape, that he would promise to leave the compound with all of his followers, and he would do so peacefully. However, that hasn't happened yet, at least not as far as we know. As the day wore on and it became apparent that this may drag on into a fourth day, there were signs of disappointment among some of the police officers that we've observed here. Around 8 o'clock this evening, though, there was a great deal of activity. We saw a number of vans, cars, a school bus, a couple of ambulances, fire trucks that left the area. It was impossible to tell if anyone other than law enforcement officers were actually leaving the area. And once again, law officers have been saying nothing official about what's happening and if there has been any sort of break in this case. Another bit of news that surfaced today was that the number of dead inside the compound may be much higher than originally thought. On Monday, federal agents were saying that 2 members of the sect were killed. Today, there are reports that 10, possibly as many as 15, are dead, all victims of the gun battle Sunday in which 4 ATF agents were killed in a shootout. Now, there have been promises of news conferences, briefings from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, but they began being delayed yesterday afternoon, this morning, this afternoon, and again tonight. News conferences were scheduled, but they were pushed back. We're now being told that possibly there could be a briefing tomorrow morning. But at this point, we just don't know. We have no confirmation if anything, in fact, has really changed here. Hoda?
All right, Dave, thanks a lot. Still ahead on Nightwatch, a Louisiana death row inmate is one step closer to a lethal injection. And some welcome news about the budget today out of the state capitol.
I guess I was the first one in the area to buy a new Saturn. In fact, I loved it so much and bragged about it so much that my brother-in-law Vincent, he bought one. And then my brother Pete, he bought one. Pete's son Michael, he got one too. And my daughter down in North Carolina, she bought one. My barber Joe, he's got one too.
You notice he don't have a picture of mine because mine's nicer.
You bought the identical car, same color and everything.
As part of the Eckertnomics program, Eckert puts 250 items on sale each week, saving Eckert shoppers $1.3 million each week. Eckertnomics. Suddenly, the economy is looking pretty good. As part of the Eckertnomics program, Eckert has lowered 3,000 prescription prices, which will save Eckert customers over $40 million a year. Eckertnomics. Suddenly, the economy is looking pretty good.
Hello, I'm with Jefferson Guarantee Bank. Why should you pay up to 18% or more on car loans, personal loans, and credit cards when you could consolidate your debts with a home equity loan from Jefferson Guarantee Bank? With a low rate of just 9%, you could save thousands in interest. And in most cases, your home equity loan is tax deductible for even bigger savings. Call today, 838-4554. Jefferson Guarantee Bank. More money for your money. Guaranteed.
She brought her secret of European skincare to this uptown Maple Street salon.
It was very difficult because nobody had heard about it.
Biochemist Lulu Burris creates her own products, then prescribes a custom regimen of care for each client. Soon, she'll market her therapeutic treatments worldwide.
If you look good, you feel good.
We're Louisiana made, Louisiana proud at Lulu Burris and WWL-TV Channel 4.
Unless Governor Edwards steps in, Louisiana death row inmate Robert Sawyer will be put to death after midnight on Friday. The State Pardon Board today denied Sawyer's request for clemency. Defense attorneys argued Sawyer is mentally retarded and should have a sentence commuted to life. If the execution does take place, Sawyer will be the first inmate in Louisiana to die by lethal injection. He was sent to death row in 1979 for raping and killing his girlfriend's babysitter. There was a glimmer of good news from Baton Rouge today about the state's budget crisis. More budget cuts will not be needed to finish the fiscal year that ends June the 30th. But Mike Ross reports lawmakers are still facing big money decisions in their special session that starts in a couple of days.
I added $10 million.
It was one of those good news, bad news reports. The Revenue Estimating Conference says the state's budget crunch for the next 4 months has eased by $56 million. But the $618 million budget gap that starts July 1st has not gotten any better. Lawmakers will converge on the state capitol this Sunday to consider the blooming budget mess. And even though the special session is just a few days away now, there remains a lot of doubt about what will be accomplished in terms of raising taxes.
We know there's been a lot of talk, but so far there's been no action. And
Representative Lancaster is on the House Ways and Means Committee, the first stop for any tax increase proposals. He says the governor's plan to balance the budget with a $500 million tax hike faces a cold reception.
Well, I don't think that there are any votes for taxes on the Ways and Means Committee right now. I think that almost all the members are waiting and just going to take a wait-and-see attitude relative to whether or not we adequately address the spending problem in Louisiana.
But Governor Edwards is sticking to his strategy.
I'll say again that which is unpopular, but which is truth, and a lot of times people don't want to hear the truth. And the truth is very simple. You can't cut more than $100 to $150 million, if that much, out of the budget without people really suffering.
The governor's allies hope he'll find some middle ground.
He has said, and his department heads have now said, that we probably can take about $180 million in cuts. That's a big departure from where they started in zero cuts.
I think government exists to serve people, not to see how much you can take away from them.
Louisiana has been on a taxing and spending binge for many, many years. There's no question that if we got really serious about it, we could cut all of the money out of the budget that we need.
There's no doubt this will be a contest of wills. In Baton Rouge, I'm Mike Ross, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
Metairie lawmaker David Vitter today filed a lawsuit against Governor Edwards and leaders in the legislature. Vitter wants to prohibit what he calls the illegal appropriation of state budget funds.
The Commissioner of Administration and the Joint Budget Committee alone, with no full participation by the legislature, with no full legislative vote, appropriate money in the state budget. And they do that and have been doing that for the past several years to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
The defendants named in the lawsuit are the governor, the Commissioner of Administration, the Attorney General, and leaders of the House and Senate. The New Orleans metropolitan area has picked up 2 more parishes. St. James and Plaquemines parishes have been added to the New Orleans metro area. That adds about 50,000 people to the region, bringing the metro population to around 1.3 million people. New Orleans is now the 30th largest metro area in the nation. Here's a look now at some other stories in the news. Reputed mafia boss Carlos Marcello is dead at the age of 83. The Jefferson Parish coroner has not released the official cause of death yet. Investigators are making slow progress at the World Trade Center in New York. They began pulling cars from the bombed-out garage today, hoping to find clues in the bombing. A group of Palestinians killed an Israeli today after he drove into their refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. Authorities say the man lost his way while trying to deliver a gift to a Palestinian who worked for his company. And Ross Perot testified before a congressional committee today. He urged lawmakers to cut perks and other practices that have caused the American people to lose confidence in Congress. Coming up in sports, the Colts' Clarence Verdun is a free agent no longer. We'll tell you who we'll be playing with next year. And it's a rematch of last year's high school championship when Eckert takes on St. Aug. Jim's up next.
Tickets available at Center Box Office and all Ticketmaster locations.
They never thought the dream could come true. They never thought they could afford it. But on March 15th, Mike Turner and his family moved into their very first home. It was a HUD home. One of hundreds HUD can help you own, for about what you pay in rent. Ask a real estate agent about HUD homes and make your own dream come true.
Can you give me some guidelines in dealing with returns and exchanges so I feel like I'm doing the right thing with a customer?
The best rule of thumb would be this. Whatever you would do for your best friend is what you should do for every Men's Warehouse customer.
The tradition, the history, the spirit, the legends, the valor, the brotherhood of a lifetime. Come help us continue the excellence of our beloved alma mater with an evening of dinner, dancing, and much more. Call now and be a part of Jesuit New Orleans Celebration 93, this Saturday at the New Orleans Center.
Tomorrow we continue our 4 Fitness Watch series with a closer look at the exercise portion of the program, and Consumer Reports looks at preventing strokes. Join us.
Do you recognize this Metairie mastermind? She's ready to be the next hometown hero. And with just the right questions, she'll bring home the bucks. Watch Laura Crane tomorrow on Channel 4.
Prep basketball playoffs on tap, huh?
Yes, and no repeat champion in 5A this year. Eckert avenged last year's loss to St. Aug in the 5A state championship while depriving the Purple Knights of a 4th straight trip to the top 24 tonight. In the second round of the playoffs this evening, the Patriots rolled behind the strong play of Rayshard Allen. John Eckert opened up an early lead. The forward, who will apply his trade at Tulane next season, tallied 28 points tonight, giving Eckert an early 8-point lead with this bucket. St. Aug fans didn't have much to cheer about. Maurice Robertson puts a move on Allen here himself to score, but St. Aug trailed by 14 at the half. Allen will show his court presence a bit later on in finding Glenn Coleman on the baseline for the score. The Patriots go on to win it by 19 tonight, 78-59. Elsewhere in 5A playoff action, it was Higgins whipping Bonneville. East Jefferson over Easton, and Kennedy dropped Abramson 78-73. In 4A, St. Martinville eliminated Walker. Assumption edged Salmon by 2. Jeremiah Thompson shot at the buzzer, won it for Cohen by 2 over Nichols, 66-64. In AAA playoffs, Hannon in overtime nipped Clinton 83-80, and in AA, Newman advances, defeating New Iberia Catholic 76-61. NAIA District 30 playoff semifinals. Xavier will play for the championship on Monday night. The Gold Rush run their record to 24-7 with a 4-point 78-74 conquest of the William Carey College Crusaders. In college basketball elsewhere tonight, among teams in the top 25, Michigan whipped Iowa 82-73, and with 2 minutes left, Vanderbilt has had to come from behind to lead Tennessee by a single point. Scottie Pippen was back for the Bulls tonight after his suspension for fighting, and he's in the middle of this fast break that Michael Jordan finishes against the New Jersey Nets. The Nets had lost the last 8 meetings between the two teams. Derek Coleman tries to break that streak and halt the Bulls' 5-game winning streak at the moment. In the process, you know, they really aren't making backboards like they used to. Chris Morris of the Nets shattered another one with his 4th-quarter dunk. It dissolved when it was taken down for replacement, forcing a 21-minute delay for housekeeping. The Bulls went on after that delay to defeat the Nets 87-80. The Knicks rolled over the Atlanta Hawks. It was the Magic getting by Minnesota. Indiana defeated San Antonio 109-95, and the Mavericks lose again. Milwaukee 120 and Dallas 86. Well, it would have been a marriage of convenience and necessity. The Saints badly need a return man. New Orleans native Clarence Verdun could leave the Indianapolis Colts as a free agent and made no secret of his desire to play here in his hometown with the Saints. But alas, it's not to be. Verdun was persuaded to stay in Indianapolis by the depth of Robert Irsay's pockets. The little kick returner signed a new contract with the Colts, telling Eyewitness Sports tonight he was shocked at the degree of Irsay's generosity. Verdun was the 2nd leading punt returner in the AFC this past season and went to the Pro Bowl for the AFC in that capacity. Reggie White's the belle of the free agent ball, and he's just sitting back and waiting for the most attractive partner to come by and ask him to dance. Right now, the Washington Redskins are looking pretty good to him. The Washington Redskins, said to be White's first choice, are reportedly readying a 3-year, $7.5 million deal to get the Eagle defensive end. But both the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Oilers have professed their desire to get into the fray as well. Browns owner Art Modell says he'll equal any Redskins offer to pry White loose from their clutches. Former Buffalo Bills general manager Bill Polian, fired after the team's 3rd straight Super Bowl loss, has found work. Polian has been appointed by the NFL to the Management Council to advise teams on the intricate new free agency system.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates, who suffered some major losses to free agency in the offseason, may be losing a free agent they thought they'd gained. The Pirates have ordered relief pitcher Alejandro Pena to stop throwing in spring training because of persistent pain in his elbow. Pittsburgh signed him to a guaranteed one-year contract in the offseason after receiving assurances from his doctors that his elbow, which bothered him last season, was sound. Could be heading to court over that one.
Sounds like, you know, when you see those guys' faces after they shatter that back forward, it's like the biggest rush for these guys.
You know, and he didn't really slam it that hard either. When you see what Shaquille does time after time after time, maybe this was just fatigue. Maybe his old backboard needed to be recycled.
Yeah. All right, up next, Dave will let us know if the rain's going to return tonight.
As a boy, he idolized Diana Ross, but this isn't Michael Jackson. It's RuPaul, a 6'7" drag queen on his way to pop stardom. Next time on Entertainment Tonight, meet a performer who truly is one of a kind.
I moved to New York City, honey, with a pair of high heels and a dream. And look at me now.
Plus, Major Dad's Gerald McCraney visits the troops in Somalia, and E.T. was there for the exclusive tour.
The relief effort is going on, and it's working.
See it all on Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 10:35 on WWL-TV, Channel 4.
When cars are called luxury sedans, what does that mean? Leather appointments? Absolutely. Dual airbags, wood trim? Mandatory. You gotta have a CD player and power sunroof. But you know what? On most luxury sedans, these features cost extra. Not the Infiniti J30. They're all standard. See, Infiniti thinks when you buy a luxury car, the luxury shouldn't be optional.
Coming soon, a love story between a city and its favorite road race. See the personal triumphs. Experience the human drama. It's an epic production with a cast of thousands.
The 15th annual Crescent City Classic premieres on March 20th this year, so grab your favorite training partner and get going.
Register at the Athlete's Foot now through March 12th. Then walk, run, or race to the big finish. A community message from WWL-TV Channel 4. In New Orleans, we like to talk. We're good at it. Almost 20 years ago, we started listening to a young woman named Angela. Now, she's a good talker because she's a good listener. And she's a good listener because she likes people. You see, it doesn't matter what you talk about. It's who you talk about it with. Angela Hill on Channel 4's Eyewitness News, Louisiana's news leader.
Well, it looks like the worst of the rain is over, I guess, at least for now.
I really think so. I really think so. We still had a flash flood watch up because there is a chance for some showers to return, maybe some isolated thunderstorms. But right now, I think things are looking a lot better than they were earlier today. It's in the lower 60s outside. Temperature is 61 at the International Airport and the Audubon Zoo, and the temperature at Slidell is 60. Cloudy skies. The humidity 97%. Wind south at about 6 miles per hour. The pressure 2978, and at the present time, it's rising. Now, don't get excited when you see this next graphic. This is not now. This is at 10 o'clock this morning. I just wanted to show you what it looked like. Heavy showers and thunderstorms were rather numerous in the region, especially to the southwest, and they were all moving in our direction. That's why the Weather Service had the flash flood watch up. But look, at 4 o'clock this afternoon, it has really diminished tremendously and moved to the east, and finally, we don't see much showing up now at all. It's all to the east and southeast in the coastal waters and is much lighter than it was before. But there are a few scattered showers that have broken out to the west. Will they develop into as much shower activity as we saw earlier today? I doubt it very much, and I'll tell you why. First of all, we do have what looks like a lot of moisture here moving from the southwest through the western Gulf, and you might say, well, that'll feed those showers and they'll increase. But those are upper-level clouds. I've examined the upper air observations that the Weather Service has, and it looks to me as though there's dry air moving in from the west in the low and mid part of the atmosphere. So I think the showers will be much more widely scattered when they occur tonight than they were earlier today, and I also think they'll generally be on the lighter side. But you never know, so the flash flood watch remains in effect, and we'll be watching that situation very closely. But we'll go ahead and say then, for late tonight, chance for a few showers and isolated thunderstorms, lows in the 50s. Again, I don't think we'll see anything like we saw earlier today. And by tomorrow afternoon, the front will move far to the east, clear us out. We should have some sunshine. In fact,
It's going to be a beautiful day with high pressure in the nation's midsection extending down into our region for several days, perhaps all the way into the weekend. For tomorrow, it'll be clearing and cool then, as the early morning showers, if they're around in by, say, mid-morning. Highs tomorrow in the 60s, winds northwest at 10 to 18 miles per hour. The marine forecast calls for a small craft advisory east of the river, not to the west. And I think the winds will be shifting tomorrow to northwesterly and increasing during the day gradually, 12 to 22 knots, seas building back up to about 4 to 7 feet tomorrow. And the scattered showers, whatever are remaining early tomorrow, will be ending. A look at that tides chart. We have one high, one low. The range almost 1.5 feet. The lake temperature and the sea temperature both stand at 60 degrees, not too bad. And the extended forecast indicates just that 50% chance for rain early on Wednesday. Could go either way, but dry and beautiful, cool nights and mild afternoons the rest of the week.
Good-looking week. All right, Dave. Thanks. Up next, we'll tell you where this week's biggest lottery drawing is causing people to go wild.
You won't believe your eyes when you see these prices on Super Savers through Saturday only at K&B. K&B has the 7-ounce Mother's Best Muffin Mix, blueberry or strawberry, for just 25 cents each. The 1/4-ounce jar of Carmex ointment is just 59 cents each. And the 1,000-sheet roll of K&B bathroom tissue is just 25 cents each at K&B. See for yourself, and you'll believe in Super Savers only at your convenient K&B drugstore. Personally yours.
Over the last few years, prescription drug costs have grown dramatically, and nobody's been able to do much about it. Until now. By negotiating with local pharmacies, we've developed limits on how much you pay for prescription drugs, so it saves you money. The Community Pharmacy Network from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana. We can't eliminate health care costs, but we can sure make them a little easier to swallow.
If you're a hot band just waiting for a big break, then stardom could be as close as the nearest mailbox. As Audubon Zoo and WWL-TV invite you to enter our Jazz Search Talent Contest. Win a Spirit of Louisiana recording session at Bogalusa's famous studio in the country and a scheduled appearance at Jazz Fest. For more information, call the zoo and enter Jazz Search today. Stand by for a special report. Kid Watch is TV just for kids. It's where kids learn to shoot, produce, and anchor the news. But you can't see this newscast on TV. It's only at the Louisiana Children's Museum. So bring a kid to Kid Watch, where learning is always good news. A community project with Fidelity Homestead, a leading savings and loan since 1908, and WWL-TV Channel 4.
Finally, if you play the Louisiana Lotto, there is no doubt in my mind that you are fired up about the $15 million jackpot this week, but that is peanuts to the folks in Washington. You see, tomorrow night's Powerball drawing in D.C. is worth $55 million. It's the highest ever in Washington. Right now, officials tell us that tickets are selling by the thousands every single minute. Makes 15 sound like nothing. That's the news. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
It began at his childhood home in Araby when he answered an ad looking for car salesmen.
I knew right away when I took that job, I wanted to be a car dealer someday.
And what a car dealer Ronnie Lamarck has become. He's now bridging the gap with dealerships on both sides of the river and lake. Along the way, he's captured virtually every auto award for excellence. Even Ford's chairman honored him for his uncompromising customer satisfaction.
The awards are great, but helping the community, That's my greatest achievement.
Ever mindful of his roots, Lamarck is actively involved in civic affairs, including the highly acclaimed Freeport-McMoran Golf Classic. And not one to ignore the national scene, Lamarck has appeared on Larry King Live, and he sang his way through the Triple Crown races with Risen Star.
Sure, I graduated from the College of Hard Knocks, summa cum laude.
We're Louisiana made, Louisiana proud, at the Lamarck Motor Company and WWL-TV Channel 4.
It happens just once every 3 years, always in the spring. A fresh look to a New Orleans masterpiece, where area designers are preparing to unveil magic. Come experience a house from the past in styles of today. Decorators Show House, sponsored by the Junior League of New Orleans. Coming to the French Quarter March 13th through April 4th.
If Tom has 2 apples and Jane has 3, how many can they put in their pie? Is sugar a major crop in Africa? Why do we use longitude and latitude?
Now you can call one toll-free number for help with homework.
Why is it called photosynthesis?
Homework hotline. How can I help you?
Will I ever use trigonometry in the real world?
LTNL and NOPSI's Homework Hotline, a community project with MCI Communications and WWL-TV Channel 4. The Emmy Award-winning Oprah, weekdays on Channel 4. From WWL-TV, this is a Channel 4 editorial with Phil Johnson.
Good evening. Tulane economics professor William Oakland has provided a singular public service to this city and to Louisiana. His study on government borrowing, commissioned by the Times-Picayune, shows the disastrous results that accrue to a state or a city that goes to excess in its public borrowing. And by that, we mean the bond issues and other ways used to raise funds for capital and other construction. You know the pitch. Vote for this program. Vote for that program. No increase in taxes. Well, that's the sales talk we hear from our political leaders. But as Professor Oakland points out so graphically, that money has to be repaid, and the debt load of both state and cities in Louisiana has risen dramatically, so that it totals collectively over $1.5 billion a year. How dramatically has it risen? The study showed that in 1979, the debt amounted to about $65 for every man, woman, and child in the state. Today, that figure has grown almost 6 times as large, to $375 per person, an alarming exercise in disproportion. That debt load is so demanding that it feeds the deficit, which, as we all can see, threatens new taxes to bring it under control. So the old adage about no new taxes is not always as true as it sounds. Like the man said, the money has to come from somewhere. Chuck Morrison liked to warn voters to think twice whenever a politician talked about giving you this or giving you that. Remember, Chuck would always say, it's your money that's paying for it. So he's not giving you anything. You're paying for whatever you get. And you're also paying for that tremendous debt load the state is under. You should demand of your legislators that it be brought under control. Good evening.
This has been a statement of opinion by the management of Rampart Broadcasting Company. If you disagree, WWL-TV invites your reply.